Hello, Professor B is back here. We're going to look at another option for a toolbox. Today we'll be looking at strength in writing and how we might avoid some things that make our readers go, I don't understand what you're saying, or you're taking too long to get your point. So without further ado, let's jump into this episode's slide deck. Hello, Professor B back with another episode on making our writing better. Today we're going to be discussing strength in writing. How do we avoid weak composition and make ourselves into strong technical writers? There are several techniques we're going to discuss, so let's jump right in. As a way to improve our writing, these are some of the categories we're going to talk about in this deck. Avoid pretension, avoid arrogance, avoid silliness, use strong pieces in our writing, and look out for faulty things that we have done. Okay? Look at the little guy over there with his dumbbell. He's pushing it up into the air. He's proud of himself. He's strong. Number one, avoid pretentious words. Don't use a word that your audience might not understand because that's a way to make our writing uninteresting. So there are some on the left-hand side here instead of, and then on the right-hand side, use this. Approximately, easier to understand if you say about. Component, it's a part. Facilitate, one of those $2 or $3 words when we could say cause or bring about. Implement, if you're on the farm, yes, you might have an implement. Otherwise, say put into effect or carry out. Manufacture ability is a really long way of saying I can manufacture this. And instead of saying utilize, use. It's shorter, it's more concise. One of those things we're worried about in technical writing. Okay, we also want to avoid arrogant phrases. These phrases, when included in your writing, set the reader off with, oh my goodness, he thinks I'm an idiot. Okay, as is well known, of course, in other words, clearly demonstrate it is obvious and with all due respect. Okay? I know that anytime I'm in a conversation and somebody says with all due respect, I know that what comes after is probably going to insult my intelligence. Okay, so avoid using arrogant phrases. There are many more, but these are some examples. Use strong nouns when writing. Okay? What do I know if it's a strong noun? It uses one of the 5 senses. Okay? Does it evoke sight or hearing or smell or touch or taste? And now down at the bottom there we got a picture of Mount St. Helens. It blew up May 18th, 1980. I was alive then. Many of you probably were not. Let's look at this sentence. The existing nature of Mount St. Helens volcanic ash spewage was handled through the applied use of computer modeling capabilities. Okay, I have highlighted 4 nouns in this sentence: nature, spewage, use, and capabilities. None of the 4 elicit any strong sense type experience, right? Nature, I could think of streams through the forest or deers running on the hill. Deers, that's not the plural of deer. Spewage, okay? You might think of several things that I won't discuss. Applied use of computer modeling capabilities. None of those actually bring a good mind picture about what I see on the screen. So let's try to change it up a little bit because this is very weak. We want strength. And now, with Cray computers, we modeled how much ash spewed from Mount St. Helens. Computers brings up a picture of a computer. I can sense that. Ash, we understand what that is as a strong noun. And Mount St. Helens, obviously we think of the volcano, so we have made our sentence much stronger. Okay? So use a strong noun, elicit those sense-based experiences from your readers, and you'll be doing much better. Okay? Also, we need to use strong nouns. We also need to use strong verbs. Okay? Weak buried verbs on the left, strong ones on the right. A whole 4 words to say arranged. Made the arrangement for. Made the decision. Well, you decided. Made the measurement of. We measured it. Performed the development of. We developed it. Likewise, we can bury our verbs in a to be construction. Is, beginning, begins. Is used to detect, much simpler to say detects. Remember, consider your audience. You want to make it easy for them so they're interested in reading what you write. Another way to make weak writing is to pad our phrases, clauses, etc. with adverbs. If I ran really fast, what's another word for this? You sprinted. Extremely funny. Hilarious. Shorter, sweeter, to the point. Very quiet is silent. Okay, get the picture? All right, now we're going to look at some ways to fix our faulty sentences. And these will be the 6 examples we're looking at. To banish or belief, faulty subordination, our clauses that have no subjects, we ramble on, we leave stuff out, and we say things that are just illogical. Okay, we're going to think Mr. Spock in this case. All right, I feel, I believe, I think. These phrases, or when you include these in your writing, you move the focus from the topic you are talking about to you as the writer. We don't want to do that. Let's look at an example. I believe the experiment was successful. Okay? Your belief in this case clouds the meaning. It may have not been successful, but you believed it was, so big deal. You want to convey to your readers that this experiment was successful. The researcher successfully completed the experiment. This is a strong statement. Belief, thought, feeling, thinking, whatever, we do not need to mess with that in technical writing. Subordination. The problem with faulty subordination is you give more grammatical weight to the clause that should be lower than the independent clause, right? We've talked about this in making sentences. So here we have a subordinate clause that begins our sentence. Because the noise level in the assembly area on a typical shift is as loud as a smoke detector's alarm 10 feet away. Okay, we put so much information in there. Once we get to the true most important part of the sentence, which the independent clause is in a complex sentence, employees often develop hearing problems. That's what we want to draw attention to. We've lost their focus. Okay, let's fix this. Employees in the assembly area often develop hearing problems, which is our main point of the sentence. Now we've moved our subordinate clause to the end because the noise level during the typical shift is as loud as a smoke detector's alarm 10 feet away. Okay. We've moved the most important content up front. This is what our reader is focused on, and then we give a reason at the end. That fixes our faulty subordination. Now, missing subject. In this case, we've left something off. Your application program can request to end the session after the next command. That may make sense in a conversation, but when writing, look at our hint there, from whom or what does it make the request to end the session? We don't know. Okay? We've left it out, so it's incomplete. Let's fix it. Your application program can request the host program to end the session after the next command. We fixed it. It's much stronger. We know who we can request the end to come from. Okay? Moving on, our rambling. Okay? Rambling when we just put too many words in there and we don't really know where we're supposed to be reading anymore. But our example, the payment to which a subcontractor is entitled should be made promptly in order that in the event of a subsequent contractual dispute, we, as general contractors, may not be held in default of our contract by virtue of non-payment. That sounds like legalese going on and on and on. Technical writing, we want to be concise, to the point, and accurate. Let's fix it. Pay contractors promptly. Okay? End of sentence. That's our first thought. Next sentence. Then, if something happens, okay, if that contractual dispute comes up, we can't be held in default. Okay? Much clearer, much more direct, gets rid of the rambling, and states what we want it to. Missing verbs. We leave something out, the mind goes wandering. I never have and probably never will write the annual report. Okay? Here we're concerned with you never have what. We haven't specifically said. I never have written and probably never will write the annual report. We need to make sure our verb occurs in both places. Now, looking at faulty logic. It's illogical, what Spock would say. Mr. Wilson's job is a sales representative. In this case, we're saying that the job is a sales representative, and that cannot be because Mr. Wilson is the sales representative. Let's see how we might fix it. We can improve it by saying Mr. Wilson is a sales representative and then move any confusion about the job out of the way. Okay? Some common logic errors. Let's take a quick look at some of these. Our first one is lack of reason. This is when a statement is contrary to the common sense of the reader. For example, if I said New York City is a small town, you might be wondering, well, what in the world? 8 million people is not a small town. Versus saying, although New York City's population is over 8 million, the city itself is comprised or composed of neighborhoods that function as small towns. That one makes more sense. You've added the reason back into the statement. Another logic error is a sweeping generalization. These are statements that are too broad or all-inclusive to be supported and leave no room for exceptions. An example of that would be, management is never concerned about employees. Well, that's just not true, because there are companies where the managers really do care for their employees. A non sequitur is a statement that does not logically follow a previous statement or statements. Okay, an example of that would be, I cleared off my desk and the report is due today. Okay, well, the act of clearing off your desk has absolutely nothing to do with the report being due, right? Okay. Our next one, false cause. This is what is called a logical fallacy. If you like the fancy Latin words, it would be post hoc ergo propter hoc, because the one event that follows another, we are saying that the first event caused the second, and that is not true. An example of this would be, I did not bring my umbrella today. No wonder it is now raining. The fact that it is raining is in no way caused by the fact that you did not bring your umbrella, so that is a false cause. Leave it out of your writing. Okay. Biased or suppressed evidence. This is when we include in our writing a conclusion that is reached based on bad evidence. Maybe you include self-serving data or questionable sources, or you purposefully omit or add incomplete facts. It is both illogical and unethical. For example, your sentence might be, you are preparing a report on an aspect of your company and only distribute surveys or questionnaires to employees who align with your goal for the report, thereby biasing anything you might write about your topic. Okay. And the very last one is the mistake of including opinion over fact. Facts belong in technical writing. They include verifiable data or statements. Opinions are personal conclusions that may or may not be based on facts. We all know people who say, I'm entitled to my opinion. Okay? A fact would be distilled water boils at 100 degrees Celsius at sea level. An opinion would be distilled water tastes better than tap water. Okay? Makes sense? These are common logic errors. Leave them out of your writing, and you'll have much stronger writing. Okay? We have come to the end of this topic. Here are some references, and we'll turn it back over to me for some final closing comments. Professor B out for this slide deck. Well, did we learn anything? Did you recognize any of those techniques that exist in your writing already? Well, we talked about several ways to avoid doing that. Practice, 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 and hopefully you'll have stronger writing before you know it. Professor B out, and stay tuned for the next episode.